The ongoing storyline with the Bloodline and Sami Zayn is probably the best storyline WWE has put together in years. Now, when I say that, people, especially on the internet, are going to say, does that mean you think everything else sucked? Absolutely not. There have been tons of great angles, including the original formation of the Bloodline with Roman Reigns and the Usos. I thought that was fantastic. But this surpasses it. This to me is the best angle they have done in years. I can't even think of the last time I was this invested outside of NXT in an actual angle. And it's very exciting. So, what I want to do today is give you three reasons as to why. I'm going to give you the three top reasons as to why this storyline with Sami Zayn and the Usos and the Bloodline is working, and why it has led to not only increased ticket sales, but also increased attention on WWE. International viewership is up, as well as ticket sales for even the pay-per-views are up, and viewership is going up too. The ratings are up. And a big reason is not just because football season is over, pretty much. We have one more game left, and it's not, besides the Pro Bowl, and it's not because, it's WrestleMania season, but it's because this angle has captivated people. So I'm going to give you my three top reasons as to why this angle worked so well, and it's continuing to. Number one, again, these are in no particular order, they are the top three. They took their time. How many times, both in WWE, AEW, or other companies, do bookers oftentimes rush to do angles instead of letting things breathe? Recently, I criticized AEW because at All Out 2022, when MJF returned under that secret mask, they could have milked 4, 5, 6 weeks of storylines by giving the audience clues about who was under the mask. Even if we knew it was MJF, do like little puzzles, kind of like what they did with Bray Wyatt. Take your time with it, sort of make us guess to see if we can figure out who it is. Is it somebody from, a former WWE guy? Is it an indie talent? It ends up being MJF. But what they did was MJF and Stokely and them, they win the chip at All Out, the championship match, and then at the end of the night, he just comes out and reveals himself as MJF, and they killed like possible 6 weeks of angles. And to me, even though I liked the MJF stuff and what he's done, I still feel like they could have maximized the potential of what they did by doing that. But let's not forget that they had other problems that night that were far and away beyond just that. That was after the show, though. So they took their time with the Bloodline. This thing took time. And every single week on SmackDown and sometimes on Raw, you would see these interactions between the Usos, between Solo Sikoa, between Sami Zayn and the Usos. Let's not forget, Solo's actually the newest character here. Between Roman Reigns and everybody else, Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman. And you saw a little bit more added to the story. Sami Zayn gets pinned in the SmackDown match with John Cena and Kevin Owens. I was there live. At that point, they could have turned on Sami that night. They didn't. Then during the trial of Sami Zayn on Raw 30th, once again they teased attacking him, and they didn't. Instead, what they did, rather than having the predictable Bloodline turn on Sami because he's not really a Samoan story, which I thought they were going to go with, instead Sami has to make the choice of laying it into Kevin Owens or not, and he instead hits Roman Reigns. So it becomes the Darth Vader moment at the end of Return of the Jedi for Sami Zayn, and I think it's probably one of the all-time career highlights for him. This is like maybe the top of his career. And I've followed El Generico's career for many years, yo. So it's just kind of crazy that they're at this level and that this is so good. But again, they took their time. They teased us. They didn't do it. They had sort of Sami Zayn get on their good side, make them laugh. Like they had a really great time doing this. And that's why it paid off, because people had to tune in every week to see what happened, or at the very least, look up the highlights on YouTube to see what happened, which means they're invested, which is why this Royal Rumble show did so well, because it was the final chapter. It was built up as such, and it wound up being the case. And that turn was phenomenal. One of the best angles they've done in years, and that's one reason they took their time. Number two, this is a compelling, relatable story. Every one of us, at some point in our lives, has wanted to fit in. They've wanted to fit in, whether it be when you're in elementary school or maybe in high school to fit in with the cool kids. And some of you are still doing it to this day. Some of you are, trying to fit into your fiance's, in-laws. You want to fit in so that they like you. Or even at work. You try to fit in with the people and have a good relationship with them because they make work more enjoyable. You don't want to work with people who are just, who you have issues with, right? And so we've all wanted to fit in. Sami Zayn, grown man, but he wants to be part of the bloodline. He wants to be part of the top act in the company. I thought he had genuine intentions, but even he said that, Roman Reigns took it too far and that attacking Kevin Owens took it too far. It's funny because I remember I talked to a bunch of my friends about this weeks ago, maybe even months ago, and I said, when Roman Reigns turns on Sami Zayn or vice versa, the crowd is going to flip on Roman. And that's exactly what happened. Going into WrestleMania, it's perfect because on Raw, we heard the chants during the Cody promo, right? We heard those chants. And so Cody's going into this thing as the ultimate babyface. The ultimate, just like his father was, the ultimate likable babyface. And Roman Reigns is going in as the guy who beat up our boy Sami Zayn and who needs to have the title taken from him. And it's going to be Cody Rhodes going to do it. Very exciting stuff going into WrestleMania season this year, yo. Very exciting. So, but it's relatable. We all can fit into Sami Zayn's spot, right? We've been there. But also, how many of you guys have? Let's look at put the shoe on the other foot. How many of you guys have been to like a family gathering and one of your cousins or your sister brings along the new boyfriend and you don't like him for whatever reason? He's off, he's aloof and standoffish, or he's, I popped myself with that, or he's, kind of a dick, it's the opposite way where he's not even trying to be cordial with you, and you're all, so that's kind of how the Usos viewed Sami. Like, who is this guy? He's not a Samoan, and that was beautiful storytelling, man. So it's a good story. Paul Heyman's fingerprints are all over this. If it's the team of Paul Heyman, Triple H, and yes, I'm going to say Vince because Vince was there for some of the stuff last year because he did kind of put the bloodline thing together originally, that's good stuff. And Michael Hayes, of course, on the creative team probably also worked on this because, he's famous for being a part of one of the biggest turns ever that led to big money back in 1982, I believe, when Kerry Von Erich was turned on by the Freebirds. Michael Hayes did the turn, and that led to like a 6-year run of like phenomenal business for World Class. So this angle could end up being a big, I don't know about 6 years, but this angle could be a huge run for WWE right now going into WrestleMania 35, even without The Rock. So the third and final reason as to why this angle worked, it's simple. The performers themselves. Everybody played their role right. Everybody played their role correctly. And one of the things that Triple H and the creative team did here is they put the characters in the right positions and they accentuated their strengths and hid their weaknesses. Solo Sikoa, he's the enforcer of the group. He doesn't talk very much. He usually talks with his facials and his actions. That's perfect for him. Don't have him talk that much. Jimmy and Jay, they can I love Jimmy and Jay because they're very, very good at doing the comedy and the serious stuff, and they're great in-ring performers. Roman Reigns, tribal chief, his head is up his own ass. He thinks he's the greatest superstar ever. He's going on this legendary title reign where he wants to overpass and surpass Bruno and Bob Backlund. No, he's on his way. He wants to be the greatest champion ever, the tribal chief. It's all ego to him. Then you have Paul Heyman, the little rat, the dirtbag, who, no matter what happens, no matter how he may feel about Sami Zayn, all he cares about is what Roman thinks about Sami Zayn, what Roman thinks about the Usos. And the fact that last year's big story, because there was a very similar big storyline last year with Paul Heyman, whether or not he was going to side with Roman Reigns or Brock Lesnar. So they've done this kind of stuff with the bloodline, but this one I think is really like at its max potential. I think this is the best thing they've done. We've had a good 3 solid years of bloodline storylines, and they've all been pretty good. To great, I would even say. So the performers are just so phenomenal. These guys are at the top of their game, yo, and you have to. I think when all is said and done, you really do have to put Roman Reigns and the Usos. We'll see how their next few years go, but I feel like you really have to put them there with some of the greatest WWE superstars ever. I'm not talking about necessarily in-ring wrestlers, although they are very good workers. I'm not talking about like necessarily drawing power, although they have that too, as we've seen, but overall package. Overall package. Roman Reigns delivers on big matches. You cannot deny that. Except for some of the Brock matches, Roman has delivered on the big matches. That's undeniable. The Usos, tag team specialists. But also their vignettes, the way they shoot this when they're outside talking, they're just overall superstars. You know what I mean? In my eyes. And so these are the top 3 reasons. If you have any other big reasons, let me know in the comments. Not necessarily as big as these, but whatever you think, or if you think you have 3 better reasons, I'd love to hear it. But dude, there's no question this is the most compelling story in wrestling, and the first one like this in quite some time, and I'm happy to be here for the ride.